So thank you, Julie, once more, and thank you, your team, for organizing twice now this agenda. So if you can join me just in giving them again a round of applause. So in fact, I can attest that actually Julie did read most of MIT, what she said, but actually she did it before she joined MIT. And she came to me with those questions during the interview process. So I was convinced that in about 18 months, she and her team could pull something like this together. I didn't know, however, that they would bring the snowiest winter on record to make sure that there was proof that these efforts were necessary. I also want to take the time to thank you, all of you, for not only joining us today and spending this time, but really throughout these 18 months and what I hope to become many, many more years to come, you will join MIT in this effort. Because the challenge that we're posing today and that you will be talking about today is one that I've been very committed personally to solving from many different angles. And I'll share some of my personal experience today in the past few years, and then how that, I believe, needs to be moving into the future. So this question that you've kind of put to us is one that actually Julie and I spent a lot of time talking about. And I would say that's probably the main reason she joined MIT, to become this changing force in the campus sustainability arena, but also as a showing proof that this can be done and that others can follow in the spirit of MIT, and just leading by kind of walking this talk that we all care about. As you may have heard, we are, and in fact you can walk around the campus and see, we are under one of the largest construction periods that MIT has ever undertaken. And I've shared this with many of you, that MIT has been built in different bursts. And there's one when MIT came to Cambridge in 1916, there's another one in the 60s, there's another one in the early 2000s, and now what we ought to do is really renew the campus infrastructure, physical, built environment, and beyond. So it's an opportune time to really think about what the campus should look like in 2025, in 2030, not only from the physical and design standpoint, from the operations, from the research mission, but also from the sustainability. What do we do? What do we experiment with? And what do we prove to ourselves and to others that can be done? So I have no doubt that this question will be addressed in the best spirit of MIT by bringing the best minds to work on these challenges. And many of you represent those minds. So what I want to show you, and Julie kind of has alluded to a couple of those, are the effect and the changes of bringing folks to the table with different perspectives. The first one is MIT Nano, that by now I think either everybody knows or everybody suffers. Because if you are located around Building 12, you kind of are suffering what's the highest priority for MIT, to have these clean room nanoscale facility for research, best in class. And what I can attest, again, is that in the original design, I would say not much attention was paid to sustainability, which would be common in a building that's driven by the research and pushing the frontiers of research. And it took a while to really bring those perspectives into consideration, to really make sure that this was as committed to becoming the best nanoscale research facility, but also to add, and the greenest one. And I can also tell you that this had to come within a financial boundary. And this is another discussion we've had, and there is probably another prejudice out there that sustainability costs money. And that is another question that fundamentally I want to address. And I want to address in terms of life cycle costs, but I also want to address that when you are early enough in the design, it doesn't cost that much to think about options. And those are the kinds of challenges that I pushed to the design team through Julie and through others to make sure that this facility became the example of what one can build in nanoscale. The second one, and this is just a pictorial representation of what we're envisioning to do in Kendall Square, but really it goes beyond this. Julie talked about the Eco District, working with our colleagues at MITIMCO and the City of Cambridge, and many of you around this room. We envision not only to change the game in Kendall Square and to accelerate the mission of MIT through an enormous, complex undertaking. That's what this will become. It may take a decade, it may take a little less, it may take a little more. But we also are bringing into this discussion is how we're actually envisioning this district from the part of MIT and beyond. If one goes north, if one goes south, the juncture with the river, the juncture with our partners, with our innovation partners, with our mission partners. And thinking about in those domains and rethinking the way sustainability plays a role, it would be very easy to think about one of these buildings and say, how do we power? How do we bring utilities to one particular building? It's very different to think about the system. Although MIT thinks about systems all the time, it's harder to think about the system, and it's harder to think about the impact of how systems thinking has something to do with it. But again, through the force of just understanding this process, we wanted to make sure that we were thinking about this new generation of districts in a very sustainable way. We're at the beginning of the design phase, and now the architects and engineers and teams are working really hard to get this done. But when this is all done, we want to be proud not only of the gateway entrance to MIT once you come out of the T, if the T is running, but also at the same time be proud of what this does in terms of energy and climate. So the other thing I wanted to migrate to is it's very easy, I would say, at MIT to pull together for one day a group of energetic individuals and get them really energized and enthusiastic about a topic. It's actually, that's the easy part. The hardest part is to maintain that enthusiasm moving forward. And even the hardest part is to actually effect change at the MIT institution level. So we have a history, and I've seen this history now for a few years, in which maybe at a building there's somebody who's particularly fond of an idea, and that gets done, or a project, or a system. And I'll submit that now all of you are really committed partners in crime so that we get sustainability the way we should do it. But there's harder kind of a way to elevate that discussion through the governance process at MIT. And here there's a pioneering task force through the MIT Energy Initiative. There was the Campus Energy Task Force, so-called Walk the Talk, and a group of individuals, a subset of those, I think many of them, I recognize them here. This is John Sturman from Sloan, a great advocate down there for many, many years. The Sloan new building being an example of what MIT Nano would be in terms of sustainability. But if you wanted to scale that, and to use Julie's terms, if you wanted to scale that, how do you scale that through the decision-making at MIT? So that task force was just that, a bunch of individuals that were committed to doing it with no time in their hands to get those things done. So the first decision was to create 18 months ago the Office of Sustainability and to bring a team of individuals whose sole responsibility would be what Julie just told you. The second part is to, well, now we not only have the MIT Energy Initiative, we have the Environmental Solutions Initiative, and we have, I would say, a senior administration, perhaps starting by me, but certainly shared by many others, committed to this issue, to becoming a game changer in how we think about the campus sustainability of the future. So we've designed this now structure that sits at the center, the Campus Sustainability Task Force. I'll talk a little bit about the membership, but as you see, there are two main institutional initiatives, the environmental one and the energy initiative. There's the office that Julie leads with all her capable staff. There's the climate change conversation today, but the climate change conversation may end and another one will come, so you'll see it around it. But what's more important to me is the box up above. This is not just a task force that's not hooked into the decision-making of MIT in a way that's fuzzy, but it's actually very clear. And in this Campus Sustainability Steering Committee, you'll see the membership in 2 slides. We've put the senior administration and the decision makers, so that we all, when we make a decision, we make sure that at least the sustainability component will be part of it. So we have had cost, we have had research purpose, we have had time always in our minds. That's the typical thing of it. I want to make sure that sustainability and the cost to the environment is also a dimension when we think about decisions. So the co-chairs of this sustainability task force are Professor Andrea Campbell and Julie. And you see that the membership, we're almost done with securing the membership, but we're not there yet. So I cannot announce formally the full membership. But they will have membership from the 5 schools, from the 2 initiatives that I talked about, from the climate conversation that's going on today, from key administrative areas, most of you actually will be in this, and you know, and from students, from the undergraduate and the graduate community. And this will create the repository for all these conversations and working groups and ideas that you will generate today and into the next few months and years, How those will be enacted, how those will be filtered, how those will be prioritized will come to the purpose of this task force. So you see, this is the steering committee. So we see this task force not as a task force that generates ideas and is a collection of these days like today, but it is actually charting the roadmap for MIT. How should MIT be the game changer if we don't have the best minds thinking and advising us? So that's what we hope for this task force, that Julie and Andrea as co-chairs present to us with those best ideas for the roadmap. And we, who in the end will decide and think about the prioritization with all this multivariable problem, we'll think about what the problem and what the decision best fits with a sustainability dimension in mind. So in closing, I just want to thank again Julie and her team for this. And I want to thank all of you for what I know that this will be a very energetic day and a very enthusiastic day, but also don't fade. Make sure that this continues, because as Julie said, this is not a day, this is not a month, this is many years into the making. And I want to make sure that we all have the energy to continue. Thank you very much.